Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I am Dylan Muss, and who is that lurking in the shadows? Is that Lord Norinaga Taylor Field? How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Well, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to jump into a bale of hay tonight to talk about some Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then before that, a little bit of Xbox news, so it should be a fun, spicy episode. Taylor, a new Assassin's Creed game is out. Are you just like super ecstatic right now? This is like your favorite series, right?
It's my favorite series. It's just it's kind of surreal, and it doesn't feel like we actually have it because the game's been delayed. And the other thing too, I'm so used to playing Assassin's Creed in October and November, and it's just very different to be playing it in the springtime. I don't know if that's a reasonable claim, but it's just for me, it just feels different. It feels weird.
I think that's a very reasonable claim. But yeah, we'll get into all of that in just a little bit. A couple quick notes. Patreon, if you want to support this show, if you like what we do here, Patreon is the best place to go because if you subscribe, even at the lowest tier for 1 month, that will support us more financially than if you listen to hundreds of episodes on YouTube and like Spotify and stuff. Now, I don't know the exact math on that, but I know you got to listen to a lot before it equal the equivalent of even just jumping in that lowest tier for 1 month. So consider that if you think we are worth it in any way, shape, or form. You can also join our Discord to talk about all sorts of crazy stuff with us. On the feeds these days, we're kind of rocking a nice, clean schedule of Weekly Geek, which is like a weekly news show, a little more low-key than a big newscast, a little more intimate, just usually two hosts on there, and then Daredevil on a weekly basis, and then I don't know, I'm sure there's other things as well. Yeah, it's been going pretty steady there. What's going on in the Cryptid Clues world? You got a new episode out there that you're excited about?
Yeah, we did some. What did we do? Some encounter stories for Sasquatch, and then this week, actually today, Tessie of Lake Tahoe. It just blows my mind because you got Nessie, you got Bessie. Now there's a Tessie I just found out.
Is it Tessie's new?
Tessie's, been around since the 50s, but
okay.
New to me. Yeah.
Gotcha. Have you ever done any like Japanese folklore cryptid stuff? There's probably some good stuff over there.
Yes, I think me and Ruben highlighted Kappa, which is Japanese demon, and similar things kind of affiliate with that. Like, because if you, I'm pretty sure we've done a couple little things, and of course, there's Sasquatch all over the place, different types, like Chinese Sasquatch, Japanese Sasquatch. So I don't know, we might have touched on our toes. We definitely have focused on Chinese Sasquatch. I'll have to look and see if we did something on Japanese.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, how about we get right into it today? Yeah, like I said, two topics today. We're going to talk about this Xbox news. So, and this is kind of news. This is also kind of coming out of the rumor mill, but you sent me this, Taylor, and I found it quite interesting that there was a Xbox promotional image posted online and then quickly pulling offline because there's a cat going ham behind me on some tissue paper. There in some of this promotional imagery, there was an Xbox UI, the interface, but there was a Steam logo on it, and I guess they were not ready to announce this kind of thing. Some intern hit the button too soon, whatever it may be. We don't know exactly what it is, but reading a little bit from this IGN article, they say that the sources can say that the company is indeed working on an update that would connect users not only to their Steam library but to other PC storefronts too. There's a lot more to this, but I think that's kind of the basic thing is like, okay, it seems like potentially Xbox is gearing up to have somehow Steam connected with their consoles. And obviously, especially with the Series X and S this generation, they've been more PC-like than they've ever been before. And maybe this hardware is there that it could just support the software to run Steam natively off the console, even though Steam Deck's a little weird because that actually runs Linux natively, but then you can like switch it over to Windows, I believe, and then it works like just as well. But obviously Steam would work there as well. So in theory, you could just play your library of PC games on any of your Xboxes, or I guess maybe the next generation of Xboxes. We're not exactly sure, but I don't know. What do you make of this news? First of all, do you think this is legit? And two, I guess just like what are your thoughts on it if it is true?
I feel like it's legit. I think Xbox, I should say Microsoft, has been really pushing to branch out off of their console a little bit more, and especially a lot of games that were available only on the console, now available on PC with Game Pass Ultimate. You can stream between the two seamlessly. They've been making huge steps with just implementing Discord into like your
Right.
Xbox now. With being in a Discord chat, I don't have to go into an Xbox party. I just connect to Discord on my phone app, and then I can just start talking on Xbox, and it just connects the Discord chat to the Xbox, which is nice. You can stream your games through Discord now, connecting it to your Xbox. So there's lots of stuff going on, and I think that this has a lot of merit behind it to get your Steam library on Xbox. It's only a matter of probably just like binding the right keys to your controller, just mapping it out accordingly. And I don't think that's very difficult to do. And I mean, heck, I'll be able to play Potion Problem on Xbox soon.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that possibility. I'll have to get some controller support going in on there because currently there is absolutely none of that. But that's an interesting prospect for sure. Yeah, there's so many angles to this, and I wonder if this is something that, like, do you think PlayStation is also working on this too? Like, would it be Steam that would be going out to these different places, and Switch would probably be a lot harder just because of the tech side of things, I imagine. But do you think it would be like more Steam going to these places and saying, "Hey, we want to increase, our user base essentially by accessing these different places where people can access the storefront"? Or do you think this is more an Xbox play of like, okay, maybe this is our feather in the cap to like really boost us up in the next generation, because that is huge. If you can do that, now because already for me, like my Xbox 360 / now Series X, like that's kind of been my biggest digital library until probably Steam over the last few years. And so if I could combine those, because I don't have a huge digital library on, like Nintendo switches it every generation, right? So that kind of withers with time. And then PlayStation, I'm only buying the odd digital thing on there. So if I could combine forces and get my two biggest libraries just combined in one place, that would be huge. But yeah, do you think this is something that Steam would be going out and also PlayStation would have this too, or could this be an Xbox exclusive feature?
I feel I don't think it'll be an exclusive feature. I think this is something that PlayStation will probably adapt at some point as well. The interesting thing here, though, is, well, so two things. This is a huge step towards kind of breaking away from the physical media side of things, where you don't need to buy hard copies for your games anymore, which I feel like is something that Xbox and PlayStation, respectively, both are trying to step towards.
Absolutely. I feel like even Avowed, recent example, I don't think has a physical version at all, only digital experience.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not realize
first party game. Yeah.
So the other thing to this as well, if Xbox is the one that's responsible for this, is pushing forward to it, or if it's Steam, it's crazy to think I will be able to play PlayStation exclusive games that have been ported to PC months later after its initial release on PS5. I can play it on Xbox. I can play Spider-Man 1 and 2 on Xbox. I can play Ghost of Tsushima on Xbox. I'll be able to play Death Stranding on Xbox. Like, that's just really, really wild. And if that's Xbox pushing for this, that's a huge kick to the gut for PlayStation, right?
And then you'll have to sign in with you'll have to sign into your Xbox account, buy the game through your Steam account, and then you'll have to sign in with your PlayStation account in order to play the game. It'll be such a fucking mess. But then you can play. At the end of the day, it's worth it to play Ghost of Tsushima on your Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's funny, when I was reading through this, my one of my first thoughts was, it says in that article mentions and other storefronts. So, I think Epic Games or something. But the first one that came to my mind was Battle.net, or is it Blizzard.net? I forget if they changed it at some point. But like that's the Activision games.
Battle.net, yeah.
Yeah, Battle.net, because obviously that's like within the Xbox umbrella now. So I wonder, like, that, to me, that would almost make more sense to do that first, to get that implemented on your console. But obviously Steam would be like, if you can get Steam, you get Steam on your console, because that's going to bring in a lot of players. And I feel like if this was an exclusive thing for Xbox and PlayStation 6, for example, didn't have it, I think that would be a huge boost for Xbox, because now that's like another way for people, because I think a Steam Deck is probably about the same price as a Series X, and maybe a Series S would be even cheaper than a Steam Deck. So if someone just wants to play games and they like Steam, like, maybe just buying a Series S is the best way to go, because that's a hell of a lot cheaper than a PC, right? Unless you get like the worst PC of all time. So that would be huge for Xbox. I think Steam, they would have no, why wouldn't they want this? It's just they can make more money in more places. And I wonder if the ratio would change, like how much Steam gets off every purchase of a Steam game. Like if it's on Xbox, if they'd split that, or like how would that work if I
Well, it's
buy it
bringing
on
your
my?
library, right? So you're still buying you're paying the full amount to Steam, but I
I know,
imagine
but does
Steam's
does
paying a
Xbox now, like if there's a purchase that's made through the Steam store on your Xbox, does Xbox want a cut of that, right? Or and then is it weird if
yeah.
you just go on your computer and buy the game there instead? Does now all of the proceeds go to Steam, but you can still play it on your Xbox? Like I would really wonder how that stuff shakes out. And I just
Mhm.
what I hope for is that people like me who have a game on Steam that I'm not getting like undercut even more because Steam already takes like a lot higher percentage than like Epic Games does, for example, from like every purchase there. So I wonder how something like that would work. But I think Xbox would be like you can have all the proceeds. We just, that would be such a big feature to have. I think they would probably be fine, or even just take like a very small percentage. But
Mhm.
I think they would rather just have that on there. And like as you mentioned with Discord too, like yeah, just get all of those features to make these things more blend in with a PC on the shelf, which they already want you to do. I think it makes a lot of sense. But
Mhm.
the other thing I thought with this is like it almost feels, there was that campaign that they had going on a few months ago that was like everything's an Xbox or this is an Xbox. So they'd post a picture of like I don't know whatever device and say, oh, this is an Xbox. This kind of seems like I don't know. This almost seems like against that idea in a way. Like now they're kind of incentivizing you once again come back to the console space, even though it seemed like maybe they were drifting away from that and they don't really care where you play their games. They just want you playing them. But now this is like, oh no, we want you playing games on our Xbox specifically. So I don't know if it's just two different pillars, but I think it's also just I don't know. Every time you hear Phil Spencer or Sarah Bonner, any of these people talking on a podcast in the last few months, the fucking planet Xbox changes every 7 days, it seems. So I feel like they don't really know what they're doing. They're just trying to do anything to increase their sales, I guess. And, it doesn't hurt to try and go for two different markets at the same time. The people who just want to play digitally anywhere and the people who do want a traditional console experience, but have maybe drifted to PC and now you can maybe bring them back at the very least, grab a Series S, throw it on your TV stand, still have your PC, and you're good to go. And that might be a nice hybrid way for people like me specifically who don't really want to play games on my PC these days because I work all day on the PC and I podcast here with you in the evenings. I don't want to sit for my computer any more than I already do, even though it's still screen. But
Yeah.
anyway, some rambling thoughts there. But I think there's a lot to it. My other thought though was, would developers want this? And I think it's a double-edged sword where one, okay, now there's a bigger storefront in a way for a larger audience for people to buy your game because now you have all these Xbox users who can now buy any of your Steam games. But I also think it maybe takes away from like the double dip factor. And you think about games like Minecraft, GTA, Skyrim. Personally, I have purchased those games on multiple platforms over the years, and those are some of the best-selling games of all time. And that's why those games become some of the best-selling of all time because a lot of people buy Minecraft 3 or 4 times, and so it's not that that many people has actually bought the game. It's just that you have individual people buying the game multiple times to play it in different places. And this could kind of take away from that a bit. Now, if you just have to buy it in one spot, obviously much better for consumers. But I wonder if developers would be worried or upset about this if they're in a way losing money because people are not buying their game in multiple places.
If as a developer your pitch is to have one person buy your game 2 to 3 times, that's not a solid foundation, and
Is
you need
it
to
is that
rethink your
is that the
plan.
case though? I mean, think about games like Marvel Snap or I'm sure Pokemon trading card. Like I'm sure like most of those games, so much of their revenue comes from like just individual users who are spending sometimes like millions of dollars on their game, right? Like they're just
Mm-hmm.
they're the whales as they call them, right? Like the users who are just buying so much cosmetic shit in your game that it keeps it afloat for the people like me who Marvel Snap maybe spend $10 every few months or something like that, right? But where it actually becomes sustainable is sometimes just those huge freaking whale type people. And I feel like it's not quite the same if you can only buy a game up to 3 or 4 times on these different platforms. But I feel like that same idea does kind of stand. And yeah, Spelunky I've purchased it on every platform, because I just want to have access to it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's quadrupled their sales from one person alone here. But now they would get, less sales for me in that way. But I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they just like where does that divide of like, hey, well now they have access to more users. Where does that balance out? I think that's tricky. But at the end of the day, developers aren't really gonna have a say in this, right? This is just like
Mm-hmm.
Xbox and Steam and these people, the suits that are making those decisions, not the developers really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see too when you have Steam sales, because sometimes the Steam sales are like the best, like way better than Xbox. So competitively, is Steam going to undercut Microsoft on the pricings of their games? Like, and then like it's going to force their hand, like, oh, well,
Yeah.
just buy a game on Steam for $5 during their summer sale when it's still like $29 on
Mm-hmm.
Xbox Store, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I do feel like because I've been trying to wish list more things on my Xbox and PlayStation. I tune in on those sales, and I feel like they're getting up there in terms of the Steam numbers, in terms of the value, like the savings you could get on these things. But still, at the end of the day, like compared to like Steam, compared to any of these other things, the eShop, of course, but even Xbox, even PlayStation, oh my god, all those sort of storefronts absolutely suck compared to Steam. Steam is so clean. They've obviously been doing it for a long time and like had the same one they've been iterating on, but it is by far the best storefront for finding new interesting things, for just quickly finding the things that you actually want, for managing your wish list. The UI just looks really nice. Everything's really snappy and it's consistent because you don't have to like, oh, every generation now I got to like wish list these new games that I want or get, you know, it carries everything over obviously throughout all time. So it's just always been the best. And so I think to me that would even just be a huge thing of, oh yeah, I can just like buy things on Steam on my Xbox now. That is a huge convenience. Or I could just buy them on, you know, Steam on PC and then just download them from my Xbox. Like that would be a major convenience factor. So I do hope this ends up being true, and I hope it happens for PlayStation too. I just think it would be great. That would really, I don't know, help me maybe make a decision on what console I want to buy next generation. At first, I think it would be just a really nice bonus. And you know, I doubt Nintendo will ever jump in on this fun, but I hope they do because that would be. I mean, Steam probably wouldn't want that because I feel like then who would buy a Steam Deck if now you can just play all your Steam stuff on your Switch, you know? So I think that would probably be not to their best interest. But I think to grab Xbox and PlayStation and get them in the house, that'd be a good partnership. I think.
For sure.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this that we haven't covered yet?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay. How about then we take a quick break, and we'll be right back to get into Assassin's Creed Shadows. We are back. The latest Assassin's Creed game. What is this? The 12th game, 10th game, 11th, 14th,
Oh man, off the
27?
top of my head,
Mainline
right.
game. Mainline.
Mainline
Yeah,
game.
give it to
Okay,
me.
quick sound out. Assassin's Creed 1,
Okay.
Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 4, Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Origins at
We're
that
at
point.
10,
Yeah.
and then Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and then Assassin's Creed Shadows.
So I lost count. Were you still counting?
No, I stopped at 10. 10 was Syndicate. So Origin, or maybe
I think it was 14 or 15.
Yeah,
13,
yeah,
14, 15. Somewhere in that ballpark. So there's been a lot of these games consistently coming out, but I think they have slowed down a little bit. Obviously, the delay is a part of the factor here. Now, I guess just like, obviously, I want your top level thoughts, but also, I feel like you've gone on such a journey with this series. You've played all these games. You love, maybe you don't love all of them, but you really enjoy most of them. And then there's a couple duds, I guess, in the mix. But I feel like you kind of went up the hill with Origins and Odyssey, really liking the kind of changes in the series, and then Valhalla kind of tanked it. You didn't really like that element. Maybe I don't know if it was necessarily the open world stuff you didn't like. It just wasn't as much for you. And then they go back to Mirage for a more classic Assassin's Creed style. But now here we are back with like the kind of open world again, and obviously a new setting. So I don't know, how is that faring with you? Are you liking this kind of back and forth, or do you wish they would kind of stick with the Mirage style, or are you kind of enjoying the open world element of it again?
The open world aspect, it can be overwhelming because when I was playing, I had Madison sit next to him. And Madison, look, and I was just going over the whole map. I'm like, how the hell am I, a 30-year-old man, a father, supposed to find the time like, to just go through and 100% this like I used to? But you make time. The fact that it's open world, I like it, and there's definitely a place for it with Assassin's Creed. Valhalla was just, I have some friends that really, really love it. They still play it, they enjoy it, and they're trying to egg me on to get back into it. I think I just can't. It doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed to me. It feels very far from it. And when you look at Mirage, like, okay, Mirage is them kind of hitting that reset button. It's going back to basics. It feels like Assassin's Creed 1, but is refined and just honed in. And it's just like, this is a great Assassin's Creed adventure and a story. I really enjoy it. So yeah, there's definitely been highs and lows. The Assassin's Creed Shadows, to me, it has elements that are familiar from previous iterations, like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. The character, like, between and back and forth kind of dynamic, I feel like that's part of that is represented here. And then while I'm exploring the map, for some reason Black Flag popped into my mind. It just, the landscape seemed very familiar, and just it's the setting and running around seemed to kind of feel like Black Flag in a certain way. Of course, the combat very, very much different. I mean, that starts with Origins. But yeah, there seems to be like little things that just kind of reminisce from each different title of Assassin's Creed that I really like.
I think that's pretty fitting for like the theme of these games too, right? And just like having the animus and kind of just this stuff unlocked through your DNA and the memories and whatnot. So I think it's cool that you're kind of getting that vibe from it, that it's a bit of a mix of these different, specifically eras of the series, I guess. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to the animus and that whole storyline, I've had difficulty keeping up with where we're at right now. I mean,
yeah.
a few games after Desmond, I was keeping track, and it made sense with what was happening. But now without Desmond, and I can't even remember the name of the main protagonist in the present day. I think it was Layla. It's still a little convoluted trying to keep tabs with her storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think that where they're at now, I think this has just been a long time coming. People have been asking for this for a very, very long time. And it's nice that we finally got it. And I'm glad that it's, when you look at the map, I'm looking at a picture of the map right now, and I'm glad that it's broken up into, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different regions, which feel, or provinces, which is a little bit nicer, a little bit more
and they
refined.
make it kind of clear, like this is like the level you want to be roughly to enter those places.
Yes,
makes it feel a little less overwhelming than just like a big cloudy map that we see so often in open world games.
That's right. And that's something that was brought in. I want to say it was Origins that did that, where, hey, you can really go anywhere here, but you're going to need to be a higher level if you really want to deal some damage. And that's, again, represented here. But this just feels more refined. And I'm very thankful that they took a lot of the things that they changed and introduced in Odyssey and Origins and really refined it. Even Valhalla, I feel like it was kind of missing the mark on with the combat and whatnot. Mirage was nice. And I mean, I'll speak more to it later with this game, but this is definitely it's landing.
Yeah, it's what's the difference then between like this and Valhalla for you? Like, why is this one seemingly working for you more than Valhalla did? Because to me, it seems like a kind of linear trajectory to get to this point.
I would definitely say it's the way the map was designed in Valhalla. Way, like when I say open world, I just way too much forest, way too much openness like that. And I mean, that's kind of, am I being hypocritical? Yes, because Odyssey was kind of like that, and Origins was kind of like that. But for me, another thing with Valhalla is it just didn't really feel Assassin's Creed like. It just felt like you're just a Viking doing the raids and leading a bunch of troops and all that kind of stuff. There were just certain elements in there that were trying to be honorable to the time and the setting and the events that were unfolding, but it just, I don't know, it didn't connect. It didn't work for me.
You just have one character in that game, right? You can just like choose male, female, but let's get the same guy. Yeah. And it's more, I don't know, is it really trying to emphasize combat over stealth?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, and that's again one of my other biggest cons. Like I enjoy the stealth aspect. Sometimes just you want to go in and you want to fight like crazy, but I like, for example, one of the first things I got in Assassin's Creed Shadows was an achievement for getting 5 kills undetected. I was like, okay, I feel like there's some merit and a little bit of a reward here for just doing it. And that was me going into a base as I think it's Noah. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. So that was me just going into a temple and just using my throwing daggers and just really taking my time and going in slowly. And I was like, man, this feels good. I feel like an assassin. I feel like a ninja or like this is just super, super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying the game so far as well, and I'm definitely much more green when it comes to Assassin's Creed. I've only just dabbled in a couple of the games, but I've never even rolled credits on any of these. And we were considering doing an Assassin's Creed 2 retro before this episode, but just very busy the last couple months. But I thought
you beat Origins.
No, I played a few hours of Origins, but I got to the pyramids and then I died. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I floated off into the wind. It was fun to roam around there a little bit, though. But yeah, I truly have not played a lot of this series, so a pretty fresh experience for me. And obviously, this feels very similar to Ghost of Tsushima and other open world games, but I think it is taking some different directions too. I wanted to ask the objectives. I guess I'll call it the objective map. the objective chart, whatever you want to call it in this, where rather than it being like a linear quest log of like here's the name of these quests, here's your side quest, here's your main quest, like it's kind of just this big map and you can kind of scroll around it and it'll show like here's your character, and if you want to go on their personal journey, follow this. Here's like the base building thing, you can follow these quests. There's these different rings of like different bandits, and here's how they're connected to each other, and then you kind of follow through these things. Is that kind of new here, or have they been doing these sorts of, I don't know, I guess layout of the quests in these recent games?
I want to say Valhalla is kind of what started that quest kind of scenario. Origins was definitely still very linear. And Odyssey, I guess was more like Valhalla, different kind of quests popping up and whatnot, but still fairly linear. The idea though of just the UI where you see like all the different icons for the people you got to like target and whatnot. I don't remember it in Origins. Not that it wasn't there. It's just my lack of memory. I remember it in Odyssey because there were you could I have it in my head, you could see the different icons that you can hit these people that lead to these people and so forth on who to execute.
Yeah, I really like it. I think right from the get-go, like once you get through the first like 2 hours, which is very intro-y, prologue, tutorial-y sort of stuff, it really feels like it's quite open, and obviously it is an open world game. As you said, you can go in any direction you want, but I feel like it gives you a few different strings to pull on, and then as you start playing a little bit more, very quickly like new tabs are opening on this, and new villain rings are popping up. It's like, okay, yeah, this is overwhelming officially. Like it gets to that point pretty quickly, but I liked that openness right off the bat, and I feel like one thing I didn't really expect from this game, because I feel like Ubisoft games in general, they get the stink of like, oh yeah, mindless open world game, follow the icon on the map, you don't have to follow the yellow line, you don't have to think at all. But I feel like, and I don't know if this is new or if they've done this before, but the what do they call it? I guess there's like the hints for each mission, so you'll get like, okay, here's this guy and he's known as the Viper or whatever his name is, and you get like, okay, he is somewhere west of this town, he's in this district roughly, and he's kind of by the coast, and so you can like just follow those clues and go look around and try and find him, or you can like expense these scouts, which are like this resource to help you find where the actual peg is on the map. And I feel like that was a pretty smart thing to do, because it just makes the game, you have to use your brain to like do these quests. You can't just mindlessly turn your brain off and follow the things and not listen at all. You kind of need to pay a little bit more attention. It reminds me a little bit of Morrowind in that way, right? Morrowind, a game that didn't give you quest markers, it just gave you a journal of like, go down the road for 6 miles and then take a right at this fork in the road, and then when you see the lake, do a 360 flip and you'll get to the destination. It was very confusing in that game. This is much more simplified, pared down, but I think it works, one, for the setting of it, and I quite like it. I think it's something that could maybe get on my nerves a little bit the deeper I get into the game, when I'm like, okay, I just want to get through these quests and I have to do these freaking scavenger hunts every time. So I don't know, is that a new thing? And then how are you feeling about that mechanic?
There's definitely been iterations in the past where they don't necessarily give you like, hey, it's in this general area, but it's a lot more turn your brain off. This is very, very different, I'd say. And I found it aggravating immediately, because I was like, man, I just got to do this shit. Come on. But I enjoy the scout factor where you can kind of pop those pings. That's kind of fun. Really and cool. It's definitely grown on me, just kind of doing my own thing. And it's like, okay, so I know that I'm a viewpoint. What's the word? Viewpoint bitch, I guess.
Okay, your words, not mine. All right, viewpoint bitch. Nice.
When I see a viewpoint, I'm going to it. That's always like my first thing. If my quest is nearby, my mission objective, no, I'm hitting the viewpoint. I'm a sucker for those. I love to get as many of them as I can. I've always done that in every single Assassin's Creed, and I just think it's nice to kind of like, okay, I can get to that viewpoint, set up that fast travel location, then I can kind of see that, okay, my target's over here. Which, on the note of the fast the viewpoints, I don't believe this was in Mirage. I can't remember if there was a feature in there, but the fact that you get to the top and it automatically syncs it and does the pano shot, that's fantastic, because there has happened when you get to the top, sometimes you forget to sync, sometimes you jump off accidentally, and you got to climb back to the top of this godforsaken landmark and do it all over again. So automatically doing it is a very, very nice bonus.
Nice. Yeah, I think the scout mechanic, I think, one, it's cool that ties back into the game, that, and maybe there, I'm sure at some point with the base building you can get like scout recruiter building, and it will just like give you scouts over time. But right now it's like, okay, I have to go through the world, I find, there's two people who are being held prisoner by these evil guys. I go take out the evil guys, and then when I have freed those people, I'll have the option. Do I want to recruit them as a scout, and that will be like a one-time expendable resource? I can send them off as a scout, or I can, get a rumor for them. I guess like get a quest, a hint to a quest. I guess is the way it's kind of set up, and I don't know if there's other options that pop up later, but I think it's cool that it's one contextualizes like so many of these open world games. You like free prisoners and like maybe they go somewhere, maybe they give you a little reward or something, but I think it's cool that they kind of turn back into a resource that you can then expend and like add to your army almost in a way. And then I guess there's even more mechanics on this too, where you can like expend multiple scouts at one time to do like a more thorough search of a region or search a bigger area or something like that too. So it seems like there's, quite a lot of mechanics built around it rather than just like that simple premise that we mentioned earlier. So I really like that. Quick beef about the objectives map though. And this is something I always love to bring up. Once again, I could be an idiot, but I did have to Google this, and there was other people who had the same issue. The first time you get popped up to the objective map, it's like, okay, pick a quest you want to do. I hovered around for so long. I'm going on these icons. I'm hitting A. Nothing's happening. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I clicked on every one of them probably 5 or 6 times. I'm like, what in the world? Is the game bugged out? What is happening here? Go on trusty Reddit, search it up. And it turns out that there's like a little minier peg underneath the people's faces, and you have to click on that peg to like actually select the quest. Once again, I could be dumb, but according to my Backloggd.com, I've played like over 800 games in my life, and the fact that I, who have played all these games, could not figure out how to select the quest, which is one of the first things you have to do in the game. Like, how did that get through testing? They delayed this game. Did that not come up in these last few months? So a little nitpick there. Of course, once you figure it out, you'll never forget it. It's a basic thing. But didn't like that. I felt really dumb early on. I don't like when games make me feel dumb, unless it's like Elden Ring. I guess that's kind of the purpose of those games. But anyway, minor beef there. But otherwise, I think the objective map is really cool. I like how it kind of separates your quests in a more visual way. I'm a very visual person, so it's much nicer for me to do that rather than having like one long ass vertical list, which I'm sure for a game like this, you're gonna eventually get so many quests that would be so overwhelming to sort through. So I think it's nice to have it that way. And then one thing I'm curious about, I haven't really seen yet, is Outer Wilds, one of my favorite games, has a map similar like this. That is more of a mystery game though, and like when you're getting certain pegs on the map, it's making connections. It's like drawing lines between them, so like, oh, there's some way that this moon and this tech base on this other planet is connected, and you can kind of go figure that out. I don't know if that's going to happen here, where it'll eventually like draw lines between like, oh, this gang is connected to this other quest thing over here, and it'll make connections. Not sure, but even if it's just what it is right now, where it's like, here's your ring of enemies, and they're all tied together, and then it like funnels the quests out in like a skill tree sort of way, so you can like look at it all nicely. I think it's really cool, and it makes me much more engaged with the quests. And I don't know, I quite like it, so I'm joining that part of the game. I think it's just adds a little bit more flavor to like the open worldy, mindless open worldy thing that I feel like these Ubisoft games are often criticized of.
Mm-hmm. I could not agree more. The little icons underneath the icons is just so annoying. And it's like, okay, you got one guy that you're trying to get to kill, and you got to do the different quests to unlock the ability to kill him or assassinate him. And it's like, you select one of the little icons because there's 3 underneath, and that doesn't select all of them in a chain. You got to select that one, and then you're done that. Then you select the next and the next, which is very annoying. It would be nice if you could click on the big character, and then it would be like, okay, we're gonna just query up, these, then this, then this, as you progressively get through it.
Yeah. What are you doing with it right now? Are you like, okay, each time I want to try and find this person on my own, and then when I get frustrated and I can't find them, then I expend a scout? Or are you like, immediately I want to drop a scout? Or are you really I feel like the scouts are so hard to find right now. Like, they're pretty few and far between. So I'm trying to like save them first. I'm trying to see if I can go find this thing on my own. But sometimes it's like, okay, you got to find one guy in a huge city, and he's like might be inside, so it's like it can be hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've dropped a couple scouts, but for the most part, I'm just kind of going in on my own and just trying to do it on my own. They've completely changed how Eagle Vision works in this, which is massive, because before you were flying an eagle, right? Just what was introduced in Origins all the way up to Mirage, where you're looking down, you're literally highlighting all the enemies in a base, and then you just switch back to your character and they're all highlighted red. You go in and you have a killing spree. So this time around it's very different. You can't run while you've activated it, which is just like the original Assassin's Creed, where if you run, it deactivates your Eagle Vision. So I think using that is definitely, it's nice. And then to target certain people though, it's different because you use the left trigger and then you can zoom in. And this took me a minute to get used to because it was in the prologue when you're trying to find like the people that hunted the deer. And it was like I'm running around like, what the fuck am I looking for? And then finally I realized, oh, I got to hold the left trigger. In the bush, out in the distance, I could see 2 blue pings. I was like, is that what I need to go look for? Holy shit. So again, it's like the other thing that you're talking about. It's just once it happens, like you're never gonna forget it because it's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So that's what's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just adding that it's surprising to me that is happening for like me as just a general gamer, but for you specifically as someone who's played like all these games. Like it's surprised me that there's like still all these seemingly like small UI issues, and maybe it's like just part of the style of they want this game to be very stylized in that Japanese sort of way, and they're trying to unify everything. Like even as you're talking about like the blue dots, and there's like yellow dots for like loot, right? Blue are people, yellow are loot, generally speaking, I guess. And that's similar to like the color coding of like combat, right? Where you have like blue strikes which can be parried, but they'll still come in a flurry, and then there's like white attacks that can just be parried by default, and then red just can't be parried at all. So it seems like they're trying to keep these, I don't know, color coding and things consistent, but it ends up just being a little bit muddied because it's like kind of unclear what these things mean at sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean on that note of the combat, it feels very very refined, very smooth, and I feel like when you look at Origins, it's very like you got a big powerful guy in front of you, and you're like moving to the left, moving to the right, dodging around, and it feels bricky. Of course, that's the first time they were really doing their massive combat overhaul. Odyssey improves on it a little bit, but it's still very much the same. Valhalla, it was just too chaotic, I felt, and that's me kind of just shitting on that game a little bit more. Mirage was nice. Mirage felt a little bit more refined, a lot more smoother. Now, in this, you have to take into account that they've added this whole parkour system, and so the parkour system feels very, very bricky to me. It does not feel very smooth as I would have liked it to be. I feel like it's good, and I like it, but there are certain things where I'm trying to like, and maybe it's even just the way they've designed certain things on the map, because I'm having trouble moving my characters through certain things in towns and doing certain things. But like the sliding around is fun and moving through buildings is cool. I do feel like sometimes it is like an extra delay second when my character is running on a roof and does like a triple backflip off, and it's like, man, I don't need to do that as cool as it looks. I just need to get out of here. But
so is the new feature that you can just climb anything at any point? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's climbing anything, but just it feels a little bit choppy, like bricky. It doesn't feel smooth as I'm climbing these things and as I'm jumping off these things and moving around. Especially, I've had times where I'm trying to climb up a pole, but my character leans up against it like they're looking around a corner. It's like that's really kind of annoying. I need to climb up, not huddle around the corner.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like a lot of the times it's like, oh, this is automatically moving me in the exact perfect way I want my character to, but then other times it's like, oh, but I also still have to hit A to like do this jump. But other times she will do like the jump on her own. It's like, yeah, it gets a little bit unclear at certain points. But I think there is a lot of really nice. I mean, a lot of the time it does flow really well. But man, I don't know if you did you do the early quest where you have to like. You have to get a robe, and I think there's a couple ways you can do it. But like the main way is like go out to this pirate ship, get some silk, and then like bring it back to the lady. And like on one of the ships where the silk is, it's like in between like a ring of boxes. And it took me probably 3 minutes, which might not sound like a lot, but it is when you're just trying to pick something up, of like trying to maneuver my character on top of this box in a way so that I would close enough to like the prompt to pop up to like open the box. And I just kept jumping up and down this box doing, as you're saying, like backflips and stuff. And I don't want to. So yeah, I think you sometimes having like the automatic kind of parkour stuff is a bit much. I'd like a little more control sometimes. So I'm hoping that's something that as we get deeper into the game, we just kind of becomes second nature. And there are some like I think the animation work in this game is fantastic, like combat wise, stealth wise, but even just movement things. Like so many games have you walking on like a tightrope, whether it's like a telephone pole, like the wire or something like that. And in this game, I feel like most games don't have everything above those, so you can keep walking across them. But in this, like the pole will keep going up, and then your character does like the shimmy where like she'll hold onto the pole and like do a little swing around to like keep going. it's a little thing, but I feel like I've never seen a game do that animation before, and so I just like found myself extra impressed by it. And so much of her movements are fantastic. Like, even her crawl is like freaking Gollum, like crawling through the mountains. It is so satisfying. It's so like spider-like and satisfying. And like, I love when you're prone and you like click back on the stick, and she does, I don't know what she does, but like a contortionist just like flips her body around to like do a 180 flip. And then the assassinations out of the prone are so cool, where you like spin around, kick their legs out, stab them in the face. Just in general, like the animation, like the finishing moves, all that stuff. Animation work is like top notch in this game. Looks so great, especially like anything when you're jumping off a roof to take someone out. General combat stuff, the movement, I think they really did a good job with the flourish, and that adds on the fact that this game just looks beautiful, and like the outfits look super cool. So you just feel super sick when you're playing this game. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, you really, really do. And I think it's a lot of fun how they've managed to really make her. I mean, she's ninja assassin, and just like you said, the movements crawling around through the grass is fun, and even going underwater and getting that ability where you have the little like bamboo shoot tube thing, and it just lets you breathe under. Like,
I haven't unlocked that one yet, but I saw that on there.
It's fun. It's very, very enjoyable, and yeah, just being able to you get it right away, and it kind of bothers me at times how to use it, because I wish, and I'm pretty sure it's an upgrade though, when you can use like your grappling hook in different scenarios a little bit more. I'm sure that there's an upgrade for it that I just haven't come across, but it is nice to use it in certain situations where you just throw it up, you can go up to a roof and like keep going up and climbing and whatnot. Then you can like use it to like swing across caverns and stuff like that. That's kind of fun. There's another point I wanted to mention with her. Oh yeah, some of the executions, I love it, and it caught me off guard. Maybe it's just because I forgot how violent the other ones are, but I don't remember any of the other Assassin's Creed games being particularly this crazy. Just when I was doing my first major killing animation, and you kick the guy down, and then you just do like a spin, and you bring your katana and like cut the guy's head clean off, and the head just falls and rolls away. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Man, I went up to this one base, and you've maybe done this mission too, where you just have to take out some guy. He's at a base, and like him and his troops have been like straight up just decapitating people. And it's like all around their base, there's just heads on like tables.
Yeah.
And I was crawling through there, and I got to this one point where I'm like, okay, I'm a little down like this little rock cliff. There's a little tiny rock cliff and like a table, and then like a guard standing there. And I stood there for probably like 2 minutes just waiting for this guard to like walk away. I'm like, this guy's face, he's just looking straight at me. When's this fucking guy gonna turn around? I can't do anything to get around this guy. I need to wait for him to turn around. And then I eventually realized that it was just a decapitated head on a table. And it was never gonna move, but his eyes were open. He was looking right at me. So eventually I realized that, and then I could sneak up and get by him, which was hilarious. But okay, another funny thing with the parkour and the automatic movement, I think the funniest thing for me, it's funny but also annoying, is like, man, if you get within like, I don't know, a pole's length of any hay bale, your character is leaping in there. If you go anywhere near a hay bale, just automatically goes full cat, just dive right into it, which a little frustrating at times, but it also makes me laugh. So, you know, it's a trade-off that's worthy, I guess.
Yeah, that's bit me in the butt a few times, where I'm dealing with about 4 guys. One of them is one of my targets, and I'll be in a corner, and there's a freaking hay bale there, and I'm trying to move, but he keeps jumping in. I get out, jumping in. It's such a pain. Oh
yeah, hay bales are not like tall grass. You can't just like walk into them casually. You have to do a badass jump into them, which I'm sure makes a lot more noise than if you just silently walked into them. But
yeah,
you know, we don't worry about that. I do think the addition of prone is fun for the stealth, because you still move pretty quick, but not a lot of games actually allow you to go prone, and if you do, you're so sluggish that it's not really worth it. But I think that it's cool that there's like different levels of tall grass in this game that adds a little bit more variety to the stealth. And on top of that, it's like, okay, I can extinguish these lights, or I can like take them out from a distance, and just thinking about that stuff. So obviously, you know, they've been doing stealth since the very beginning of the series, and so that's something that is very refined. And as a big stealth game fan, I'm really enjoying the mechanics here. I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there. So that's, like I said, that's been my go-to style. And even I remember back in the marketing, we were kind of shown like, okay, you can either play as stealthy, cool ninja girl, or you can play as big, strong samurai combat guy. And I guess you unlock him later. Have you unlocked him yet to where you are in the story?
I haven't unlocked him yet. No.
Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty late in the game. I don't know how long the game is, so I don't know what that really means. But
I thought it would be a lot sooner, because you start off the game with him, right?
Right. Yeah. You start in like the opening kind of sequence, and then you
Yeah.
switch to her and get more of her story. But I mean, I'm fine with it because like I was gonna play as her the whole time anyway. I don't really have an interest in that playstyle, and especially after playing more of the combat, which you can talk about in a bit. It's not really my thing. I just want to be cool stealth ninja person. So I would probably just continue to play this character. But I don't know if it's gonna forcibly switch because I thought that was like you could choose. And that was like part of the marketing is like, do you want to go in loud or do you want to go in quiet? So it'd make me think that once you unlock him, you would be stealthy, but then like naturally there'd be like story sequences that only he would do, right? Like he probably gets a different peg on the
Yeah.
objective board. So I don't
Well,
know how
that's
that
like
works
Syndicate.
exactly.
Back with Evie and Jacob Fry, there were some missions where you had to play as the other,
Right.
and totally okay with that. Totally okay. And it's very similar because Evie was absolutely stealth and Jacob was more hands-on, like blunt force. Right? Yeah, testosterone. That's right. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to be happening here, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. Gotcha. Maybe we could talk a little bit more about the combat. So yeah, this is has the very classic combat of enemies are going to hit you with these, as I mentioned, the white, red, or like blue strikes, or maybe there's yellow in there too. I can't remember, but like these different strikes. And I really don't like these combat systems. To me, it just feels like I'm playing Guitar Hero, and I love Guitar Hero, but it just feels like oh, there's the blue button. Okay, I'll hit the blue button now. Okay, hit the blue button now. Hit the blue button now. Okay, now I hit the white button. Okay, now I can like get 3 or 4 strikes in before they reset their stance and do it again. And I'm sure you'll unlock a bunch of stuff. And I'm not really using the tools a lot because oh my god, just the different like bumpers and the different menus, which is funny. The Ghost of Tsushima had the same issue where there's so much stances and tools and things. And whenever I would like come back to the game after a few months of not playing it, it would always take me like 15, 20 minutes of like, how the hell do you control this UI and like move these buttons around? You get used to it over time, but maybe I'm not using the full tool set yet. But I'm finding it pretty bland so far. This is not really my type of combat system, and so I'm trying my best to be a stealthy ninja because I don't want to have to go into a big fight. And it works fine against a boss, and it's good enough, but like it just doesn't really move the needle for me, unfortunately. But how are you feeling about it? You sounded like you were liking it more than Valhalla, at least.
I am liking it more than Valhalla. I think it's fun when you just got to try to either force your opponent to break or just wait for an opening.
Right.
You can unlock more abilities to quickly counter, do different types of damage, different attacks, I guess that sort of stuff. But I like that as well. You can unlock actual abilities where you're basically holding down your attack and then you're summoning it kind of pops up like a four icons that you can do like these actual abilities. So when you are holding down one of your attack buttons, either I'm pretty sure it's just light attack, maybe your heavy or your light attack, whatever. You're going in for your strike, and if you're holding that attack button down, then you see the 4 icons pop up, and then you can hit like your Y to actually do like another execution, like super ability, that kind of stuff. And I like that. I think that's a lot of fun. Adds a little bit more versatility to the way you're taking out your opponents. But yeah, I just think where Origins and were very blocky when you're dodging to the side, moving out of the way, and it just felt like, okay, one solid sweep attack from your enemy will just decimate you. You can still take a lot of damage in this case, but you have a bit more control over it because you're customizing with different armor and putting on different things, equipping different things, different weapons and whatnot. And so I really do enjoy how it just feels a little bit more contained and smooth because I can roll backwards and then I can kind of just make my opponent kind of come to me a little bit, and then I can do like a heavy attack, break part of their armor off, and then I can just start dealing a few quick blows, or I can roll back and start throwing some of my throwing knives at them. So yeah, just different ways to combo it up.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it more than I am. How about we take our last break of the show? We'll be right back for some more Assassin's Creed chatter. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So yeah, as you kind of mentioned there, talking about just some of the things you can unlock and add to your skill tree. This skill tree is not doing it for me. It's something I frequently critique about games like this. I just feel like the skill trees are not very well made. They're not giving me interesting things. And there are some exceptions. There are some cool things in here. Like, as you mentioned, the swimming underwater thing. Like, that's a cool ability to have in a skill tree. I like that. But Taylor, when I saw the ability, put a skill point in to do 2% more damage at night, I almost fucking turned the game off. Who the fuck cares about doing that? That is the most, like most games, 10, 15% is like, okay, that's uninteresting and boring. That's such a small amount. I'm not going to notice that. 2%? At night, this is so dumb. And like all of them
Yeah.
are like that. Do 2% more damage when you're low health. Do 2% more damage against like certain types of enemies. And I guess that stuff would stack over time. But my God, that is like pretty sparse if that's the kind of skill trees we have in here. And so there are of course exceptions. There's different tools and interesting things you can get in there, like double assassinations from the air. Cool things in there too, but a lot of it, like, it's a bad sign when I boot up a game. I get the first few levels, I look at the skill tree, I don't even bother leveling anything, and I just don't think about it for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a good sign. Like, I should be excited every time I level up. Of like, oh, I can't wait to spend that point. There's certain things up the tree I'm really excited for. I can't wait to get to them. And then I think the other thing about that too is, and maybe you can explain this to me. There's like a knowledge system. So there was like in the shinobi or like the stealth, part of the skill tree. There's like other things that are interesting and I want to get, but it's like, oh, you need a more knowledge level, and like I don't know how I get this knowledge level thing, and they're just locked out until I get that. I've got one or two, but I couldn't tell if they were just for certain skill trees or if I have to expend those somehow. I was lost. I didn't know what the heck was going on there.
I believe because it's like knowledge points, right? That you get. I'm pretty sure because I've gotten a few, and you get them by doing certain things. Like, for example, I went to one city and there were 3 different shrines to pray at. I prayed at all 3 of them, and I got a knowledge point.
Okay, now is that a universal knowledge point, or is that like for a specific skill tree?
I don't know.
All have their own. Okay,
that I don't know.
And did you have to expend it, or did it automatically just like give you more knowledge level in certain skill trees?
That I don't know either.
Okay,
Still learning.
Still learning. Yeah, let me know if you figure that out, because I don't get it. I'm sure I could just Google it real quick. But anyway, that was something confusing to me. But I don't know. Are you having a similar experience with the skill tree as me, or are you, I don't know, finding it a little bit more engaging?
There are times where I do forget that, hey, I actually have like 4 points I can use, and so I'll make a point to go into the page like, okay, let's slap these on to whatever I want and I need here. But yeah, there's not really anything that's really super exciting. It's the things like, oh, you can breathe under a small bit of water for an extended amount of time if you get the little bamboo shoot thing. So those are abilities. Yes, I want that. Other fighting abilities too for combat, I want those. So those are some things that I'm looking forward to unlocking more of. But yeah, there's not necessarily any pull to get 2% extra damage at night. Like that's bullshit. Yeah. But I do like the concept behind it. I think that's fun because we have a day and night cycle. We have a 4-season cycle in this game. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. So I think that's awesome to think, okay, you have different benefits to doing certain missions at night versus daytime. So that's really, really a cool concept.
Can't miss out on that 2% damage, Taylor.
No, that's huge. That could make or break you, your mission.
Maybe you need one less strike to kill a boss than you did before.
Yeah,
with all that 2% adds up.
Exactly. There's a cool another ability that they've added in here that I was not expecting. So it's I think it's called the shojis. It's the type of Japanese 16th century Japanese door that has like the paper on it with on the wooden frame, and they close and open. You can open and close them in this game. You can go into the homes. It's super, super cool. I like that. And yeah, when you go in, then you can like terminate the light. I can't remember what extinguish. That's what, yeah. You can extinguish the light source in there, which is cool. And then you can, when you do that, you can see the light from outside and the shadows of like enemy guards standing outside of these doors. And you can unlock the ability to assassinate, where you stab your katana through like the paper door and like assassinate them and then pull it out. It's super cool.
I have unlocked that ability, and I don't think I've encountered an enemy in a position to kill them yet that way. But I guess, yeah, a good point that I need to be thinking more about, like, okay, where are the doors? Can I close this door and then do that or something like that? So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Let's see, where do we want to go next? Maybe talk a little bit more about like some of the quests. I don't know if there's any highlight quests and things. One that I did enjoy was a simple, I forget, they had a word for it, but anyway, it's pretty much like a parkour challenge. Like you just had to climb this mountain, jumping through these different things. And, I was following the yellow paint. It was kind of basic, but it was fun because I think the movement, like when it is working, is pretty engaging. I think it works especially well in a situation like that is designed for you to move on a linear path instead of like going through a city that is so intricate and there's boxes and rooftops everywhere. So I enjoyed that one. I thought that was cool. And then one that I thought was really interesting was as I mentioned, that section where you're essentially going to go to a tea party. And so you want to try and fit in because you're just like a lowly commoner. So you've never been to a fancy tea party. You don't know what's going on here. So there's like a couple lead up quests that you have to do into that where you have to like get clothing, and then you'll like learn some of the etiquette, and then you'll have to acquire a gift, and then you'll go to this party. And what I liked about that as well is like, because I'm gonna be honest, Taylor, I'm skipping a lot of cutscenes. I'm hitting B a lot, or I'm just outright skipping. I'm not gonna lie, I will be totally honest about that. But I felt like for that one, I was like, I gotta pay attention here because I actually want to learn these things. And then I was like, there's no way the game's actually gonna make me have to know this stuff, right? Like I'm just gonna get to the cutscene, the character's gonna do it. But then lo and behold, we got to the cutscene, and it's like, how do you want to bow? You got to bow the right way, or these people are gonna like sniff you out, or I don't know what the consequences are if you mess these things up. And then there was even where you got to like turn your teacup in a specific way. And I did pay attention for that cutscene, but in the moment, I did not know which way I was supposed to turn it. I messed it up, and the guy was like, "Oh, this fucking amateur, this Outlander, what's going on here?" And I felt that. And I was like, that's cool. I like that one of the quests of this game forced me to learn like proper tea etiquette, and I fucked that up. And then what was the consequence? Not like I got killed or anything. I had to restart a save
He'll be
point.
the main villain at the end of the game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'll come back, and that'll be like his taunt to me is he'll like turn the teacup twice, and then he'll come at me with his knife. But I really like that. I thought that was a really cool quest. And then so that one, I guess light spoiler for this early game quest, but the way that one ends is you're kind of going around this party, you're trying to get the proper etiquette, but then you're also trying to suss out 3 different perps to determine which one is the target that you're actually going after. And once again, this takes some brain power. It doesn't just give you the answer. It does eliminate one of them, so it essentially becomes like a 50-50 which one of these is the people. And honestly, after talking to them and after doing this tea party, I had no freaking clue. I was like, what clues am I missing here? I didn't realize I was, playing Return of the Obra Dinn. I like, totally missed some of these details here. I wasn't doing enough snooping around. And so it comes to the end of the quest. I'm like, I don't know, that girl was kind of sus, I guess. I guess I'll pick her. And then it like skips out of the cutscene, and she's like running down the street away from me because I guess I've like declared war on her. Once again, I probably skipped a cutscene here. And so I'm just running in the streets. And also the running assassination, the animation is so cool because you literally just dive at them. Once again, like Gollum, stab them in the back, and then like you're in the middle of a town, so now everyone sees you. Stabbed her, run away, wrong target. So I've just killed like an innocent person. And then it's funny, the funniest thing is that it pops up with this little dialogue, and it's like, well, you know what? She wasn't the target, but she was pretty corrupt. So I guess it's okay that I killed her anyway. So it's like trying to take away some of the guilt that I should be feeling for killing this innocent person, which was hilarious. And then because I messed it up, and maybe it forces you to mess it up. I don't know. Maybe you're forced to do it, so you have to go on this quest. It always tells you wrong. I don't know. I probably just messed it up in an honest way. But then I had to go to this whole base, and I'm glad I messed it up because I got this cool stealth sequence out of it where I had to infiltrate this castle, and she was like on top of this scaffold building. And I had to do this epic duel on the rooftop. And it was a really cool quest. So I thought that was really cool. Like the whole structure of that, of like the lead up to this quest in like a very non-combat focused mission where you're just doing some basic things, gathering some stuff. And of course, there's little combat sequences throughout it. But then you kind of culminated in this, like maybe if you paid attention and did this correctly in like a high intellect way, not just like raw power way, you could like skip this part of this quest. Or if you mess it up, you got to do an extra like difficulty sequence. And I really enjoyed that. So I thought that was like a really well-designed quest, and I hope to see more of that stuff in here. I don't think I've done enough to really comment on that yet, but I don't know. What is your perception of the quests been? Have there been other ones interesting like this, or do you have like a highlight quest that you've experienced so far?
Yeah, there's been a few very interesting ones so far, and I'm pretty sure you would have done the one where you're hunting like the gunsmiths, trying to get information for like, have any of these gunsmiths, like, do you sell guns with gold on them or whatnot?
I think I've got like the first couple. I don't think I've finished it yet, but I think I've started that question. Okay, I guess. Yeah.
There's 2 people that you interrogate after the fact, and like you're eavesdropping this thing, and then you have to go and actually talk to them, and they're talking about
okay, yes, those I do know those guys, but I remember there is another gun quest thing. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, so that when they were talking and they're like, oh, like you can pick what your responses are, and sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. And so they were like, oh, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, oh, do you serve like so and so? And then I was like, yeah, I serve so and so. And like, oh, do you serve the son or the daughter? And I was like, I serve the daughter. And like, there is no daughter. It's I'm like, fuck. Okay, well, that backfired. But then there's other instances and other quests where it'll actually say this does have an impact on this person in the future, and I like that. That's good to know, because it'll be curious to see, okay, how does this play in the future when this person was my ally and I said something that they didn't like but the other person did like. And to me, I'm pretty sure that's new for Assassin's Creed, that we haven't had something where conversation actually can dictate how the story could go in the future.
And one thing I noticed too at the very start of the game when you're booting up, like, oh, which difficulty you want to play on, is they have a canon mode where it'll just like auto select the dialogue options for you. And I don't know if that's just in story sequences to like give your character a specific tone, or if it is in those things too, because I think it would be disappointing if you didn't get to have those moments where you had to pay attention or know these details to like have the consequences of saying something wrong. I don't know if canon mode removes that kind of thing. Maybe that's like stressful to certain players, or maybe they just put that in for there for people who just want to enjoy these games mindlessly and don't want to pay attention to that stuff, and they just want to play the game how it's, you know, quote unquote intended to be, I guess. But that's cool that there's an option in there. Like I said, I didn't pick that mode, and I think I'm glad I didn't. Even if I am skipping a lot of the cutscenes, I still want to have some choice at certain points. But yeah, it's cool that it seems like these choices actually seemingly matter in the moment. I don't know if they matter in a meta sense, like, oh, it's going to change with the final bosses, that kind of stuff. I don't think that's what's going on. It's just more like individual missions. And I'm sure most of them do lead to combat in the end, no matter what you do anyway. But hey, sometimes the illusion of choice is all you need to make it feel like you have more impact as a player. So that's kind of all right. I also feel like some of the dialogue choices and yeah, just general options that you have, I feel like you can kind of be evil in this game. I feel like you can do some truly evil acts or do things in like really mean spirits and really just go to combat a lot quicker when you could talk through a problem. So I don't know how much that's really going to tie into things. Like that's kind of an element of Ghost of Tsushima as well. It was like, I don't know, how do you want to be an honorable type? Do you want to obey these rules, these kind of traditions and all these kind of things, or do you want to go against them? And so I don't know. I'm kind of liking that. I feel like I'm kind of playing a bit of an evil character. I'm a pretty savage person. Obviously, I killed that innocent person, so that's kind of personifying that. But I'm liking that. I don't know. It seems like there's a little bit of edge you can have with your character. But I don't know. What do you, I guess, otherwise think of the story? Like, I don't know if you're skipping as many cutscenes as I am, but it seems like it starts out as a pretty classic revenge story. You know, your father was killed, and you're trying to get the people who killed him, kind of thing. But I don't know. Do you have any more take on any interesting characters or story stuff that's going on?
It's as far as the stories go, I'm not very engaged with it. I'm not skipping cutscenes. I'm trying to get connected to these characters, but her story, her introduction it hasn't really pulled me in yet. The other character, Yasuke, I really was engaged with his character at the start because I thought, okay, like he's hired as like a bodyguard, like a slave to these Portuguese religious folks that are trying to like get permission to go through this daimyo's land. And I thought, okay, this is really cool. I'm enjoying this. And the daimyo was like, oh, I want to keep you around and like train you. And I think you're interesting because he had never. I mean, you're dealing. And I'm not trying to like be politically incorrect with racism or anything like that, but like they obviously have dealt with a lot of white people, and then here comes a black person. Like, hey, he hasn't seen a black person before, is how I took it, and he thought he was really interesting, wanted to learn more about him, and saw that he was a great warrior, and wanted to bring him in. I thought, like, this is a very cool, engaging story. See where this can go. But with her, yeah, it's classic revenge for Assassin's Creed. Father gets killed, but I felt like it was not gaslighting, but like, okay, I thought he died. No, he's alive. He's back again. Oh, no, he's dead. And then we're getting flashback sequences later on where he's alive again. And it's just like, okay, I'm not really getting attached to this character. Now I'm going to go back to the be all end all, the best of the best, Assassin's Creed 2. You get an amazing intro where you're with your family as Ezio. It's great. And then that leads to literally like your brothers and your dad being hung. And it's like, okay, that's it. No more flashbacks or anything like that. They're gone. They're dead. And it's like, holy shit, that was crazy. And this, I don't have that connection. I don't really feel her suffering. You know, like she was shot, she was on the ground, and she's outside this base, and like her father just comes out of nowhere, gets killed, and is just there, and she crawls towards him, and that's it. It's very sad, it's gut-wrenching, yes, but Assassin's Creed 2, when, you know, Ezio, like, brief spoiler, he thinks his family's going to be okay, and he's in the crowd, and he sees someone who's supposed to be his ally, sends his brothers and his dad to hang till death, and he can't get through the crowd fast enough. He's trying to get there, and he just sees his family get hung. It's like, oh my god, this is brutal. Maybe I'm biased, probably am a little bit, but
no, that sounds emotional right there.
Very emotional, very emotional. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit more emotion from this character, and I'd like to see her. I'm excited to see how she kind of more or less embraces being more of an assassin, because so far just getting these revenge killings, she's just like, for my father, and just like, yeah, just stabs them. Like, man, like this is different from like going and the assassin takes the feather and wipes the feather on their blood and stuff. This is, yeah, she's dark. She's got a dark side.
Yeah. I think she's cool. Yeah, like I don't have that deep emotional bond, but I think she's a cool protagonist so far. Cool look, and as I mentioned, like the outfits and all that look really sick. So you can really customize her in a fun way. So yeah, I think she she's getting the job done in that way. But once again, I'm not investing as much effort in the story. Another thing that I believe is new for Assassin's Creed, because you were pretty excited about this when it was shown off recently, is the base building factor. So I don't know if you are building out multiple bases or just one in this game. I'm guessing there's multiple in like the different regions and all that. But yeah, essentially you are going around, you're collecting resources along with other stuff that you would normally would in these kind of games. You can go back to your base. You are recruiting people there. You're recruiting like shop owners or like stable and things like this. You're building out different buildings, put them where you want, put decorations. There's a lot. Seems like seemingly a lot of things you can unlock to put here. I feel like every vendor has like a section for cosmetic stuff for the bases that you can do. I'm curious how much you've done with this feature so far, and how it's working for you.
I've built only a couple little things. I've not fully immersed in it, but I have been hunting and gathering lots of resources.
Nice.
And I think it's cool too because you can hit certain bases and you can, like, your scouts will hit the like certain things later, right? Like certain
right, you got to send them to like go pick up the stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah. So that's basically all I've done. I haven't fully built like a be all end all base yet.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem fairly basic, right? Like everything's on a grid, and so I don't know, it feels like a classic roller coaster tycoon sort of moment there. You can like do the little paths in between that stuff. I'd be curious to see once you get a town, or I guess you're a settlement, whatever it is, a little bit more established, like how much you see like people walking around and traveling throughout your place, or if it's just like, oh, the forge guy sits in the forge all day and never really leaves it, and it would kind of just feel like disconnected. Now it's like, yeah, you know what? Just give me a menu. I don't know if I need this like actual base going on here. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know. It seems like another. There's just a lot of different like progression things in this game, right? Whether it's like collecting, buying, acquiring gear, upgrading it. Whether that's going in the skill tree and upgrading stuff there, or like upgrading things through the base now. So it seems like there's just a lot of different ways that you're improving your character, which I'm sure over. I don't know. I'm assuming this game's pretty long. So yeah, I think hopefully that keeps things fresh. They're always having new ways to kind of improve your character. I think that was everything in my notes. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet?
Da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. I think I hit everything that I wanted to touch upon.
It's pretty good for one weekend's worth of play for what is a long game. I'm sure you'll report back on this one.
Yes, I absolutely will. If I had one more thing that would have been nice to have in there was maybe a little bit more islands available, because you can go swim out into the ocean and see the ships and stuff like that. That's cool. You can get on the ships, but I would have liked it if there was maybe a little bit more island hopping, not to the level that Odyssey had, because that felt overwhelming, but just a little bit more like exploration on that front. But that's me wanting it to be more like
now.
Black
When
Flag.
you look at like the overall map, does it seem like there's not really a section that'll have more of that?
I mean, it's totally possible, but I guess we'll see what they do for DLC. 'Cause sometimes Assassin's Creed DLC can get a little zany. They can go a little bit off the rails with it being
true. Yeah, the Valhalla stuff got pretty wild, right? With some more like mythology things.
You reminded me. So when you boot up Shadows, I actually really like it how, and I guess this is kind of them creating, it's like an equivalent to Call of Duty when you boot up that and you have like the different Call of Duties you can go into, and then Warzone, all the different tabs. So here you have your main Assassin's Creed like home page, and then you can go for like 500 CE, like 1600 BC, like
memories,
you can go
right?
through.
Is what they call them.
Yeah. So you can cycle, and they're the main games, right? Like you can choose which one you want to get into.
I want to ask about that because like I thought they had like that Assassin's Creed. Was it called Infinity? Was it going to be that where it was like the hub? Is that what this is? Because I didn't download that, but it seems like I have access to.
I think
like,
that's,
or at least, like I don't have access to all those things, but I can like see them all there.
I think that's what this is, or what they're trying to do. Because like you have access to all of them, so you're going through all of them. So it's pretty cool.
Is that part of the reason why this game was so many goddamn gigabytes? Is because there's like other games stuffed in the cartridge, essentially?
Maybe. I'm surprised because I thought it would be more. Mine was only about 100, and I thought we were going to be like 200 or something like that. But maybe that's just Call of Duty that I'm used to now.
Yeah. We shall see. This was a really fun discussion. It's always fun to talk Assassin's Creed with you because you are the master of this series. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have to report back on this one. I think I'll definitely put a few more hours in and see how that goes for me, because there is some stuff I'm liking. I still got to finish Avowed though. You know what I mean? I got so many games on the plate on the go right now. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this one does and what the reception of it is overall, because it has been a long time coming for Assassin's Creed to go to Japan. So yeah, we will report back. Thank you everyone for listening. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the YouTube comments and our Discord, in a Apple review, wherever you want to leave it. We'll be happy to see it. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Taylor, for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.